Hello, and welcome to this video about density pertaining to the Twin Lakes properties in Gun Barrel. This video was produced by the Twin Lakes Action Group, or TLAG, and our mission is to preserve the rural residential look and feel of our neighborhoods and the surrounding area. Density is the heart of the debate for the Twin Lakes properties. Right now, there are two competing proposals for these parcels of land. TLAG has submitted a land use change request to Open Space, while the Boulder County Housing Authority and the Boulder Valley School District have submitted land use change requests to mixed-use residential, or MXR. MXR would allow up to 18 units per acre. During the facilitated discussions, TLAG expressed an interest in compromising to 6 units per acre, but the Boulder County Housing Authority and the Boulder Valley School District were not willing to budge. We find this interesting. In 2013, when the Boulder County Housing Authority was convincing the Boulder County Commissioners to purchase these properties, a letter from Frank Alexander clearly indicates that the development would be feasible at just 5 units per acre. Make no doubt about it, the Boulder County Housing Authority and the Boulder Valley School District are laser focused on maximizing density above any rational quantity. If MXR is approved, there's little doubt that they will aim for the maximum of 18 units per acre. On August 8th, the staff revealed their recommendation of medium-density residential, allowing up to 14 units per acre. As you will soon discover, the average density for this area is just shy of 4 units per acre. A 4.5x increase in density requested by the Boulder County Housing Authority and the Boulder Valley School District, or even a 3.5x increase in density recommended by the staff, are unjustified and simply need to be stopped. Let's start with a game of common sense. Here you see a very simple picture, and I'm going to show you 4 more. All I want you to do is identify which of the 4 pictures most closely resembles what you currently see. It sounds simple enough, so let's go. Here's A, B, C, and finally D. Did you get it? Was it difficult? I played this game with my 4-year-old twins, and they both, without hesitation, said D. And that's the beauty of the human brain. If you can represent data in a clear, organized manner, common sense prevails every time, even when you have no idea what you're looking at. We'll come back to these graphs a little bit later. For now, let's talk density. What better way to do that than Farmville? For the fun of it, let's call this map a 1-acre piece of property. Now, let's assume we build a single home on that property, and we'll call that a unit. You may ask, what's a unit? Well, for the purpose of this video, let's assume you could use the words unit and house interchangeably. To calculate the density of this land, we simply take the 1 unit and divide it by the 1 acre. We arrive at a density of 1 unit per acre, or 1 house per acre. Clearly, units per acre express a density. So let's try this again. We'll keep the 1 acre parcel of land, but this time, let's build 4 units. If we take the 4 units and divide it by the 1 acre, we arrive at a density of 4 units per acre. If units per acre are not a natural way for you to think about density, I bet if we flip this equation over, you may feel a little bit more comfortable. In this case, you would have 1 acre of land divided by 4 units, resulting in 0.25 acres per unit. A homeowner would commonly call this, yep, I have a house that's on a 1/4 acre lot. And that is exactly what's happening here. Visually, you can divide up the land so that each house gets an equal amount. Units per acre and acres per unit are inversely proportional, and both represent densities. There is one thing I want to be clear on. Density does not directly address intensity. And what do I mean by that? Well, here you see 4 single-family homes, and perhaps they're 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom homes. Alternatively, I can build 4 single-family homes that are 5-bedroom, 4-bathroom homes. the density remains unchanged. There is still 1 acre of land and there are still 4 units. The difference in this case is referred to as intensity. The 5-bedroom, 4-bathroom homes would likely bring more people and more cars than the 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom homes. You may be able to use historical data from previous developments to obtain a relationship between the number of people or cars and the density of a particular parcel of land. But it is important to note the difference between these two entities. Let's take a look at the trends. Here you see 3 pictures. On the left, you see a single house built on the 1-acre parcel of land. In the middle, there are 6 homes, and on the right, there are 12. The density for each of these examples are 1 unit per acre, 6 units per acre, and 12 units per acre respectively. In this case, the density is increasing from left to right, and so are the units per acre. But on the other hand, the acres per unit decrease as you move from left to right. On the left-hand side, the owner of the house has a 1-acre lot. But in the middle, each homeowner has 0.16 acres, or just a little bit shy of a 1/6 of an acre. And finally, on the far right, each homeowner would have 0.083 acres, or just a little bit shy of 1/10 of an acre. And hopefully that clarifies the inverse relationship. One last item I'd like to cover is the difference between net density and gross density. To illustrate this, let's assume on our 1-acre lot we have 4 houses. But in this case, each house only has a yard that is 1/10 of an acre. The other 0.6 acres are occupied by a road platted to the development and a park owned by the HOA. If you calculate the density for just the houses, you have 4 units divided by 0.4 acres, or 10 units per acre. Yes, that is correct, 10 units per acre, even though that we only have 4 homes built. This is referred to as a net density calculation and does not include the open space platted with the subdivision. To calculate the gross density, we include all of the land in the calculation. Thus, it would be 4 units divided by 0.4 acres of homes plus an additional 0.6 acres of open space. The result would be 4 units per acre. Visually, this is equivalent to splitting up all the common areas equally among the houses in the subdivision. When you are looking at land use designations, they have to be gross density calculations, since you have no idea how the land will be platted to the homes. For example, in this case, I have 4 homes and I have 1 acre of land. I have no idea how the land will be allocated or configured, where the roads will be, or where the open space will reside. Land use designations are clearly based on gross densities. The reason why I wanted to bring this up is staff has indicated that they may use net density numbers for calculating the densities of surrounding neighborhoods. Removing open space from surrounding neighborhoods would obviously increase their densities, thereby making an MXR request look more compatible. Whenever density numbers are being discussed, you need to be clear if you are talking net or gross densities. An alarm bell should ring if net densities are discussed relative to land use change request. It's basically apples and oranges. Now that you have seen all the terms and understand the gist of density, let's use a real example from the Twin Lakes area. This particular subdivision is called Starboard. From the Boulder County Property Viewer, we can get a map of all the houses and the acreage that each house occupies. You can see that on the left. Let's create a chart and tally the acreage of each house. For instance, this is 1 unit that sits on a lot that is 0.12 acres, so we'll put a 1 next to the 0.12 in the chart. There are 10 homes that sit on lots that are 0.14 acre, and hence we'll put a 10 next to that number. And there's only 1 house that sits on a lot that's 0.21 acres. Again, we'll insert a 1 here. Once we have tallied all of the properties, we can calculate the total acreage used for housing in the subdivision. Multiply the acres per unit by the number of units, and then sum the column. The total is 6.86 acres of land used for housing. How about the open space for this neighborhood? The only open space are the platted subdivision roads. Calculating the total acreage of the roads, there's an additional 1.74 acres of land. And we'll note that here. Now, we totaled the number of houses in the subdivision. We can simply sum the column and insert the number here. The total acreage for this subdivision can be calculated by adding the acreage for housing and the acreage for open space. There are 8.6 acres. And finally, to calculate the gross density, we simply divide the 43 units by the 8.6 acres to get an average density of the subdivision as 5 units per acre. How can we visualize this data? The simple way is to turn the table on its side. Here the acres per unit is on the x-axis, and the number of units is on the y-axis. If you pretty up this chart, you get the following graph. And to keep this in perspective, the one home that was 0.12 acres of land is represented right here. At the moment, this chart does not include the open spaces, only showing the net densities. So let's adjust this to display the gross densities. Remember, there are 1.74 acres of open space in this subdivision. If we divide that equally amongst the 43 homes in the neighborhood, then each house should get an additional 0.4 acres of land. So the 0.12 acre house now becomes a 0.16 acre house, and it shifts the entire graph to the right by 0.04 acres. This is the gross density histogram for the starboard subdivision. This process must be repeated for all the neighborhoods shown in the Twin Lakes area. The density of the platted neighborhoods vary from as high as 17.5 units per acre for the Portal Village to as low as 2.4 units per acre for Red Fox Hills. The Boulder County Housing Authority and the Boulder Valley School District have attempted to show this map as proof that 12 units per acre is compatible with the neighborhood. The flaw in this argument is, of course, that this picture tends to amplify very large numbers even though they account for such a small fraction of the total land. It's basically a weighting problem. A better way to look at these densities is the simple game that we played at the beginning of this video. Here is the histogram of all 477 homes in the Twin Lakes area. Do you recognize it? It's what I showed you earlier. As you can see on the left, we do have some high-density houses, but overall we have a very nice distribution of housing. In fact, the average is 4 units per acre. The other 4 pictures that I showed you earlier are the what-if scenarios. Picture A represents what would happen to this area if the properties were developed at 18 units per acre, as the Boulder County Housing Authority and the Boulder Valley School District have requested. As you can see, the number of houses increases by 75%, and all of them reside at the high-density area of the chart. Staff, on the other hand, has recommended 14 units per acre, and that was picture B. They are recommending an increase in the number of homes in this area by nearly 60%, an absolutely mind-boggling recommendation. Picture C is what the distribution would look like if the properties were developed at 6 units per acre. This could be built under the current land use designation of low-density residential, and TLAG proposed this as a compromise during the facilitated discussions. Denying all of the proposed land use change requests would result in this status quo designation. Finally, picture D represents that the land were built at the surrounding average density of 4 units per acre. That would result in a 17% increase in the number of units and would obviously not change the average at all. If the numbers are too complicated to understand, then let your intuition guide your decision. Even a 4-year-old has enough common sense to point out the densities that are not compatible. I challenge you to try it with your own children, and to send the results to our 4 governing bodies, or talk about them at the upcoming meetings. I'll be happy to provide you with all the necessary information below. And on that note, let's wrap this one up. You've learned how to calculate both the net and the gross densities for a subdivision. But more importantly, you've learned that 18 units per acre and 14 units per acre are not compatible with this area. TLAG strongly believes that these properties best serve the community as open space, but would be willing to compromise at 6 units per acre. Either of these 2 scenarios support our mission statement. But one thing is for sure, neither the Boulder County Housing Authority, the Boulder Valley School District, or the staff's recommendations should be approved. If you'd like to help, there are a couple things you can do. You can join TLAG by using the email address here. You can sign our petition, you can donate, you can write letters, or you can even attend meetings. At this point, the most important meetings that we need everybody to attend would be August 30th and October 13th. These are the meetings where the 4 governing bodies will meet to make their decisions on these properties. To keep current on any new information, you can like us on Facebook, or you can find all of this information and more at tlag.org. Thank you for your support, and we'll be back with more soon.